Have you ever paused to think about how the doctors who will eventually look after us are actually chosen?
Hmm.
It's definitely not just about acing exams, is it?
Not at all. There's a whole complex system behind it.
Right. So today we're pulling back the curtain
Mm.
on the incredibly intricate process of selecting doctors for postgraduate training, specifically here in the UK.
Yeah, a really critical area.
Our mission, if you like, is to explore a pivotal study. It meticulously evaluated different shortlisting methods,
Right.
uncover what truly worked best, and understand the profound implications this has, not just for medical training, but really for any high-stakes selection process where getting it right is just paramount.
Absolutely.
We're diving deep into a fascinating 2009 research paper by Patterson, Barron, Carr, Plint, and Lane
And what's particularly compelling about this research, I think, is how directly it confronts a very real, very intense debate in medical education.
about the best ways to select future doctors.
Exactly. About the most effective and, importantly, ethical ways to select future practitioners. And, with significant transformations underway in UK postgraduate medical training back then,
Right, things were changing.
the need for robust, fair, and efficient selection practices was never more critical. Just imagine the sheer volume.
Thousands, right?
Thousands upon thousands of applicants for these absolutely crucial roles. This study really dissects how to navigate that massive challenge.
The scale of this challenge is just immense. I mean, when you have thousands of aspiring general practitioners, all bright, all dedicated,
Hmm.
how do you even begin to design a selection process that's not only rigorous and fair, but also ensures you're identifying those truly best suited for such a vital profession? It sounds almost impossible.
That's precisely the central question, isn't it? The Modernizing Medical Careers initiative in the UK, which really set the stage for this research,
Oh, okay.
placed enormous emphasis on these methodologies for specialty training. They were really keen to get it right.
Understandably.
And for any selection process, especially one with stakes this high, our source paper highlights these sort of universal criteria.
What are they?
Well, it must be standardized, it needs to be reliable, and demonstrably valid, meaning it actually measures what it claims to measure.
Okay, that makes sense. Validity.
Crucially, it must be fair, actively avoiding those false negative decisions where a genuinely excellent candidate might be overlooked. That's a huge concern.
You don't want to lose good people.
Exactly. And for high volume recruitment, like we're talking about here, it absolutely must be cost efficient
Right.
and seen as acceptable by the applicants themselves. Transparency and trust are key.
That makes perfect sense. So from a practical standpoint, maybe walk us through how this multi-stage selection journey typically unfolds for someone wanting to become a GP in the UK. And where does this study actually fit in?
Certainly, it's quite a sophisticated multi-stage process, really. It starts with initial long-listing eligibility checks.
Just the basics.
Basically, yeah, ensuring everyone meets the minimum academic and professional requirements. Then applicants move to the critical shortlisting stage, which is our focus today,
Okay.
where a significant proportion, often around 20–30% after that initial long listing, are filtered out.
Wow, quite a cut.
It is. And those who successfully navigate this stage then proceed to a final selection center.
And it involves.
Various work-related simulations, practical tasks to gauge their abilities in action.
Got it.
So our deep dive today is all about that pivotal shortlisting phase. It's really the gateway to that final assessment.
Okay, so the stage is set. Thousands of bright, dedicated individuals all vying for relatively few coveted spots.
Mm-hmm.
How do you, with fairness and foresight, choose the best?
That's the million-dollar question.
The researchers, like master strategists, pitted three distinct shortlisting methods against each other to find out. Can you introduce us to our first contender in this high-stakes selection challenge?
Absolutely. Our first contender is the Clinical Problem-Solving Test, or CPST.
CPST.
Think of it as a comprehensive assessment of core medical intellect. It's a machine-marked test.
Ah, machine mark.
Yes. Typically around 100 questions, completed in about 90 minutes. It's designed to evaluate how well an applicant can apply their clinical knowledge to, real-world diagnostic problems or to formulate effective patient management strategies.
So it's really testing the hard clinical skills.
Exactly. It really focuses on those foundational medical smarts.
Okay. So if the CPST tests purely clinical knowledge, what about those other crucial things like Empathy, integrity, or maybe the ability to cope under pressure.
Hmm.
Those are just as vital for a great doctor, surely.
Oh, absolutely essential.
How did this study attempt to assess those non-clinical attributes?
Right, well, that's where our second contender comes in. Structured application form questions, or AFQs.
AFUs.
This method took a very different approach. These are open-ended questions designed specifically to target those non-clinical domains.
Like empathy.
Yes, like empathy, integrity, resilience, all mapped against a predefined person specification for what makes a good GP. Applicants had 2 hours to craft word-limited responses to around 7 questions.
Can you give an example?
Sure. For instance, one question, actually cited in the paper, might ask something like, give an example of how you won the trust of a worried and skeptical patient. Describe what you did and why, and the effect it had on both you and the patient.
Wow, okay. That sounds like it could provide some incredibly rich insights into a candidate's character and past experiences.
It definitely could.
But I imagine, given they're open-ended like that these would be quite resource-intensive to grade. Takes time, right?
You're exactly right. That's the crucial detail here. These AFQ responses were hand-marked by 2 trained assessors.
Ah, hand marks, so human judgment.
Precisely. While it offers a certain depth of qualitative assessment, it inherently demands significant human time and judgment. And that, of course, has considerable resource implications for large-scale recruitment.
Which, I guess, brings us neatly to our third method.
Mm-hmm.
And this one really piqued my interest when I was reading about it. The Situational Judgment Test, or SJT.
Mm-hmm. The SJT.
Now, this was newly designed, you said, and machine-marked. Doesn't part of us instinctively feel a bit, I don't know, uneasy about letting a machine assess something as nuanced as empathy or integrity?
That's a very valid question, and it's precisely why this method was so innovative and, frankly, under scrutiny at the time.
So what exactly did this test aim to do?
Well, like the AFQs, the SJT aimed to assess those critical non-clinical domains: empathy, integrity, coping with pressure, that sort of thing.
Differently.
Yes, its mechanism was fundamentally different. Applicants were presented with written scenarios, situations they might genuinely encounter in a work setting,
Okay.
and then asked to choose the most appropriate response from a list of predefined alternatives.
So multiple choice, essentially, but for situations.
Kind of, yes. So instead of writing an essay describing past behavior, they're choosing a best course of action from given options in a hypothetical but realistic situation.
Can you give us a quick example of the kind of scenario they'd face, just to make it concrete?
Certainly. Imagine a scenario, maybe, where a patient consistently requests nicotine patches, but has a known history of inconsistent use. Or perhaps a difficult ethical one, like a family asking you not to inform a patient about a cancer diagnosis.
Right, tricky situations.
Exactly. The SJT presents these real-world dilemmas, requiring candidates to apply their judgment to complex, often gray situations. And the study explicitly highlighted that this was the first time a machine-marked SJT was evaluated specifically for these non-clinical domains in postgraduate medical selection.
So a real test case.
It really was a true test of whether an automated system could effectively tap into those sometimes elusive soft skills.
Okay. So we have these 3 powerful contenders lined up.
Yeah.
The CPST focusing on clinical knowledge.
Yep.
The structured AFQs relying on written personal narratives marked by humans.
Mm-hmm.
And then the innovative machine-marked SJT also looking at non-clinical skills, but through situational judgment.
That's the lineup.
With our methods introduced, the critical question becomes, how do they actually perform when put to the test? Expert, the study focused on a sample of, was it 463 applicants?
That's right, 463.
What did their scores reveal about the effectiveness of each of these shortlisting tools?
Well, the good news, first and foremost, is that all 3 methods, the CPST, the AFQs, and the SJT, were indeed found to be valid shortlisting methodologies.
Okay, so none were useless.
Not at all. They all showed a moderately strong level of prediction of how people performed later at the selection center. The corrected correlations were all over R equals 0.3.
Which means
Which means they were all contributing something valuable to identifying promising candidates. They all had some predictive power.
that's a solid foundation for any selection process, I suppose. But when the dust settled, I remember reading that one of them truly stood out from the crowd, didn't it?
It did, yes.
The SJT really delivered a knockout punch here,
Yeah.
statistically speaking. And R equals 0.56 correlation with selection center performance. Now, our listeners, that's not just a good number in this kind of research. That's a wow factor, right? Significant predictive power.
That's absolutely right. The situational judgment test, the SJT, emerged as the most effective independent predictor of selection center performance. It demonstrated that remarkable corrected correlation of R equals 0.56.
And what does that really tell us?
It's a significantly strong association. It indicates it's exceptionally good at forecasting who will perform well in that subsequent high-stakes assessment stage, the selection center.
More so than the others.
Significantly more so on its own, yes. It suggests that perhaps its structured, scenario-based approach to assessing non-clinical skills might be a more robust, maybe more objective measure than relying purely on self-reported narratives like in the AFQs.
Interesting. And it wasn't just to stand out on its own, was it? The study also pointed out that both the AFQs and the SJT offered something called incremental validity over just using the CPST, the clinical test.
Yes, that's a critical point.
What does that mean for someone, say, building a selection process? Why is that important?
Incremental validity signifies that these non-clinical assessments, both the AFQs and the SJT, capture distinct and valuable aspects of a candidate that the clinical knowledge test, the CPST, simply doesn't capture on its own.
So they add extra information.
Exactly. They add a different dimension to the overall candidate profile, giving you a more comprehensive, a more well-rounded picture. You're assessing different things.
So the ideal isn't just one test.
Well, for an optimal process, based on this study, they actually found that the optimum validity and efficiency was achieved using a combination, specifically combining the CPST and the SJT.
Ah, the clinical test and the situational judgment test together.
Precisely. This combination robustly assesses both that core clinical knowledge and those vital non-clinical competencies, providing, you could say, the best of both worlds in terms of predictive power and, as we'll see, efficiency.
Right, efficiency. Because beyond just effectiveness, how well they predict, there's another absolutely massive factor in selecting thousands of doctors: efficiency.
Huge factor.
How much time and, crucially, how much money do these different methods actually cost? This is where the differences become truly stark, almost eye-watering when you look at the numbers.
Indeed. And this brings up that critical point about balancing thorough assessment with the practical realities, logistics of large-scale recruitment.
So what were the costs?
The study highlighted that the hand-marked AFQ method, the essay-style questions, was estimated to cost a significant £50 per applicant.
£50 per person.
Per person. And that figure accounts not just for materials, but crucially for the considerable assessor time involved. We're talking roughly 30 minutes of trained assessor time per applicant, plus invigilation costs.
Okay, that adds up fast. Now, compare that to the machine-marked tests.
Right. Compare that to the machine-marked tests like the CPST and the SJT. They cost a mere £20 per applicant.
£20 versus 50. That's a difference of £30 per person. Expert, if we're talking about thousands of applicants, maybe 10,000 or more, that quickly escalates into staggering sums of money, doesn't it? Millions, potentially. It's not just an academic point, is it? It's a massive impact on precious resources within the healthcare system.
Precisely. The resource-intensive nature of hand-marking AFQs, despite their established validity, makes them considerably less viable, less practical, for the sheer volume of applicants we're discussing in medical training.
So the SJT looks good on cost, too.
Absolutely. The innovation here is profound. The machine-marked SJT offers similar, and in the study actually superior, measurement properties to the AFQs, but it dramatically reduces those associated marking costs.
It's a win-win almost.
In many ways, yes. It's potentially a game changer for large-scale selection processes. It demonstrates that you can potentially achieve both high effectiveness and efficiency, which is such a crucial balance in any resource-constrained environment, especially healthcare.
Now, as with any robust study, there are always limitations, right? Things that open up new avenues for exploration.
Always. No study is perfect.
One of the big questions hanging over this, it seems, is the long-term validity. I mean, we're predicting performance at the selection center.
Yes.
But how does that translate into actual success years down the line as a practicing GP? What's the research looking into next on that front?
That's a vital distinction, absolutely. This study primarily predicted performance at that selection center point, which itself has been shown to predict sort of early performance in training, maybe the first few months.
But not the long haul.
Not necessarily the long haul, no. The ultimate goal, of course, is to understand long-term success in actual practice. Fortunately, this is being actively explored. There's separate, ongoing research that aims to link these selection outcomes directly to work-based assessments once trainees are actually in post doing the job.
Ah, so follow-up studies.
Exactly. That will provide a much more comprehensive picture of true predictive validity over the entire arc of their training and potentially beyond.
Okay. And there was another interesting detail you mentioned earlier, something that might actually mean we're underestimating the SJT's true power in this particular study. The pilot effect.
Yes, the pilot effect.
What was that all about again?
It's a fascinating nuance of the study design. Since the SJT was being trialed as a pilot within this study,
Right, it was new.
candidates were fully aware that their scores on the SJT wouldn't actually count towards their real selection decisions. It was just for research.
Ah, so the stakes were lower for that specific test.
Exactly. This potentially meant they didn't approach it with the same level of seriousness or, frankly, effort as they would for an operational high-stakes test where their future career depends on it.
And the implication of that.
The implication is that if candidates had known their scores truly mattered, the SJT's reliability and validity could potentially have been even higher.
So it might be even better than these already impressive results suggest.
It's certainly possible, yes. Its performance here might represent a sort of baseline, potentially underestimated.
Okay. Zooming out for a moment then, this study clearly paves the way for a lot more investigation, doesn't it?
Oh, definitely. It opens doors.
What other critical questions do you see emerging from these findings that future research really needs to tackle? Where do we go from here?
Well, a significant aspect to consider is the SJT's applicability and appropriateness for other medical specialties.
Beyond GPs.
Exactly. The specific competencies required can vary quite a bit between, say, surgery and psychiatry or general practice. So we need to ensure its effectiveness across the board, or tailor versions, perhaps.
Makes sense. What else?
Furthermore, I think it's crucial to examine applicant reactions, their perceptions of fairness regarding these new automated assessment methods.
How do the candidates feel about it?
Precisely. Trust in the process is absolutely paramount for it to be accepted. And of course, the perennial question in any high-stakes testing.
Can you cheat or practice?
Essentially, yes. Are these assessments prone to coaching or practice effects? Can you game the system by studying specific techniques for SJTs, and if so, how does that impact their actual validity? Does it just measure test-taking skill then?
Lots to think about.
Definitely. Ultimately, all these questions tie back into ensuring we have the most robust, the fairest, and the most efficient system possible for selecting the best future doctors.
So for you, our dedicated learner listening in, the big takeaway here really is that selecting future doctors isn't simple. It's certainly not just about grades.
Far from it.
It's a sophisticated blend, isn't it?
Yeah.
Assessing both critical clinical knowledge and those crucial non-clinical skills like empathy, integrity, resilience.
Both are vital.
And while human judgment, like in those structured application questions, offers valuable depth, this study strongly suggests that machine-marked tests, particularly the innovative situational judgment test, are proving to be powerful, incredibly efficient tools. Tools that can help streamline and significantly improve that selection process, especially when you're dealing with the sheer volume, thousands and thousands of applicants every year.
It really does offer a compelling solution on several fronts, but it also leaves us with a really important question to ponder, I think.
Go on.
As we increasingly lean on these highly efficient, potentially very effective machine-marked assessments for critical non-clinical skills like empathy, judgment in high-stakes professions like medicine,
Yeah.
how do we ensure these tools truly capture the nuanced, perhaps deeply human qualities that make an exceptional doctor? Not just a competent one, but an exceptional one.
You mean beyond just optimizing for speed and cost?
Exactly. Are there unique aspects of human judgment and selection, perhaps things we can't even fully articulate, that might never truly be automated or perhaps should never be automated?
That's a really deep question.
It is. Something to mull over as you contemplate the incredible individuals dedicated to this essential field and how we find the very best of them.